Doug, just broadly speaking, what led to the zero activity today?
We had talked to teams obviously over the last couple of weeks. I think coming out of the Four Nations event, where our schedule was, we were very active in seeing what we could do. As our team started to progress, we not a holding pattern, but they kept playing better, and it made it more. We wanted to wait and see how they did, and then we got through that last game. And the last couple of days, we were in contact with teams on some hockey trades. You look at a lot of the deals that are done this time of year for unrestricted free agents. We had a couple of those in Fask and Suter, but we didn't have a lot of, some of the primetime deals that are made for guys for multiple assets were UFAs. We didn't have that style of player this year, and so at the end of the day, we talked to a lot of people. We bantied around a lot of ideas, but we weren't involved in anything that made sense for us. And then when you also look at, we were talking about it in our room a little bit too, the last couple of years, those depth UFA signing players, there's not a lot of movement in that. We saw that last year with our group, and we saw it again this year with our group. And so at the end of the day, we ended up moving forward with the team that's playing excellent hockey right now.
Doug, this is Jeremy, did you look around and consider any changes in terms of bringing players in to supplement this group, that's close to the playoffs?
Not really, JR. Just we didn't view that it's still an uphill battle. We do the analytical equation where we're at. I think if the 8th place team stays on its current winning percentage, we have to play around .650 hockey to just tie them or get 1 point ahead of them, which is a tall task. And we weren't looking to use assets that we've acquired over the last couple of years, young players, for a stopgap. Anything we would have done would have been more of a hockey trade, and we didn't see a lot of those happen today that we were involved in or could be involved in. So we weren't looking for a Band-Aid this year.
Doug, in terms of not being able to make any of those hockey trades, did the fact that some of these full no trade clauses turn to modifieds in the summer, does that give you more flexibility in the summer to make that type of deal if you want to do it?
Sure does. Obviously, when you negotiate with unrestricted free agents, there's a give and take on all different things, from no movement clauses to no trade clause to signing bonuses, and the ones that we do have an expiration date on the full no trades, and we're getting into that window with some of our veteran players, and it does open up the door if we decide to do certain things with less restrictions.
Doug, what do you make of some of the kind of heavyweight moves a lot of those teams in your division made, and kind of what were the prices like out there just in the market?
Well, it's hard because we weren't, you look at some of the trades that happened, like the Colorado trade with the Islanders or the Dallas trade with Carolina. These are unrestricted free agents. We didn't have that style of player, and we weren't looking to bring one of those players in to this team this year without having them signed. And quite honestly, bringing one of those players in this year, doesn't make sense for where we're at. So we weren't really involved. We did, as the day was going on, we're doing our jobs, but we're also hockey fans, and we're looking, wow, what a first-round matchup it's going to be in our division. What a first-round matchup it's going to be between Florida, Toronto, or Tampa, Colorado, Winnipeg, Dallas. It's going to be great hockey. The league is going to be the massive benefactor of it, but someone's going to be really unhappy 14 days after the season ends.
Doug, this is Lou. It's obviously been the best run of the squad here in the last couple of weeks. Did you need to see something of significance like this earlier in the year if you were going to change the makeup or give them a boost at this?
Yeah. I think that I give the guys a ton of credit coming out of that break. I think I said it right after the break. The players tell us what we're supposed to do, and to their credit, they've really played fantastic hockey right now. And there's a difference, Lou, that we talk about internally. Sometimes we outscore teams, but we don't. You can win the game or outscore somebody, and right now we're winning games. We're beating them on the scoreboard. We're also beating them at the underlying stats. And that's something we haven't done for a while. And I'm really proud of the job that Monty and his staff have done. But ultimately, it's the players that do those things. And they're doing a really good job right now. We got some obviously difficult news with Parayko the other day, quietly having a Norris Trophy type season. He wasn't going to gain enough offensive points to be a finalist in that award because that's how it's voted on by the voters. Who has the most points gets the Norris Trophy, but who has the biggest impact on a team defensively? Colton Parayko's in that category for sure. So we're going to miss him, but I'm very excited for the players because they've done a nice job from our younger players taking charge and being a big part of it to our older players like Fowler and Parayko, and I think Falk is back to playing really good hockey. Shen has played well since Monty's been here, So, and now I see Robert Thomas and Butcher back together. So it gives us some hope moving forward. And one of the things that was frustrating, I would say, is that we could never get 5 or 6 of our top 6 players playing well at the same time. We went through a stretch where Shen's group was leading us, and then Thomas and Butch's group was leading us, and right now they're all playing really well, and that's exciting because we do believe that they can continue to push us, and we want to give them. They have the opportunity now, and it's an uphill battle. I'm not naive to think it's not an uphill battle. Certainly with Colton's situation, but I hope they have as much excitement in this as our fans do about what they've accomplished and what we hope they can accomplish by pushing and playing meaningful games and staying on task and not getting frustrated and just staying to what they've done the last couple of weeks.
Hey, Doug, I had 2 questions. Let's start with Parayko since you just brought him up. Did that change the outlook in terms of the deadline today once you got news of that injury? Not really. It didn't change. Like if Colton was healthy, we still weren't going to move one of our A prospects or our first round pick or anything like that, in one of these deadline deal trades for this year. It gave us pause as again, JR, we just did the math equation. Okay, 545 gets you to 91 points. We got to get to 92. We got to do this. It's an uphill battle with Colton. It's even a bigger uphill battle without him. So when you go to bed, you say, should we look at moving other guys out? But at the end of the day, we talked about a whole host of things, but we just felt that what we could do, we weren't comfortable doing, and what we were comfortable doing, other teams weren't comfortable doing. So we're here where we are today, and we are excited with that, though. Okay, and also there was interest in Braden Shen. How did you approach that decision on whether it was the right thing for the organization to, try and pursue that? Did you ever get close enough where we're close to asking Braden to waive his no trade?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and I'm just not comfortable talking about any individual negotiation with the team or with the player. I think it's not something we've done in the past, and it's not something I'm comfortable getting into individual players like that. So I appreciate the question. I think I'm just going to take a pass on it.
Doug, I think last year with the Buchnevich stuff, you talked about the high prices that a team would have to meet. Did you kind of have a similar approach this year with some of the guys you have on your roster?
Well, we didn't have the UFA like we did last year. Excuse me, guys. So we set a high price for a UFA. You saw some of the high prices played for UFAs this year. I don't think our ask last year was out of whack. But we also felt that that wasn't until this year either. You know what I mean? So our asking price, we weren't shy in our asking price to do things because that's how we feel about our players. Thank you.
Hey Doug, Jacob with
Yep.
Channel 4 here. How fast, or maybe not fast at all, did your mind change, or did it change at all as the team started winning out of the break? Like your approach to the trade deadline a month ago compared to how this team is playing now?
Yeah, it gives you pause. Gives you pause when you're playing poorly. I was over in Europe just before the break. We weren't playing great hockey. What we talked about earlier, we outscored Chicago. I don't really think we beat them the game before. Up it's 4 a.m. and I'm watching the game over there, and you're happy that you won, but you don't sleep well knowing that you played well. And I haven't had that feeling since then. We came out, and unfortunately our game won. I thought we played a very good game, gave up a late goal to lose a point and then lost in overtime. But I thought, I felt way better about that loss to Winnipeg than I did about that win against Chicago. And the guys have just built on that every game. Even the Dallas game, we can spend now till the next trade deadline talking about our penalty kill if we want, but it's not very good. But that 5-on-5 game against Dallas I thought was very good. And so the guys felt that too. And they built off that and they took it in to the next night and won. So the guys are giving us hope and belief. And, I think Jim has done a great job. They're starting to understand that Jim, the head coach, is different than Jim, the assistant coach. And they're starting to respond to the, I don't want to say tough love, but the understanding that his demeanor changes now with his job title change here in St. Louis, and we're the benefactor of that.
With Suter, how much of it was you guys needing a defenseman on the back end right now with Parayko out, and how much of it was not having a market out there for him?
I would say those things crossed over the last since the Parayko injury for sure. And as I said, if you look at that the type of players that moved, there wasn't a lot of that style of player, that level of player, and that's not a disparaging thing against Suits at all. He's played every game for us and played very well. But again, you just look at the type of deals that were made, and because of the Parayko injury, moving him for a later round pick, if it was offered at all, wasn't something that made sense to us.
And just on the smaller scale, were there any transactions to the AHL to get guys playoff eligible down there?
Yeah, Bolduc has been papered and right back up. So that's one of our 4 recalls. He doesn't know that yet, so I better let him know. But our goal is to keep him up here and he's playing some great hockey right now. But like what happened with the 4 Nations, at his age, playing hockey is better than training. Playing hockey is better than anything, and we want him to continue to play. We hope that this group pushes and gets us into the playoffs. But if it doesn't, and Springfield's playing, we want to keep him playing as long as possible.
And so is Kessel eligible down there?
No, he's not. We recalled him. We're going to carry 7. I think he's 2 games away from needing waivers again to go down. I expect him to play in at least that amount of games between now and the end of the year as one of our 7. So we did not do that because we wouldn't risk losing him on waivers at year's end to play this year's playoffs. I think he would be claimed.
Doug, how will you approach the decision whether to bring up Dvorsky at some point or not?
I think it'll depend on how we're playing, how we can put him into our team, and the experience it would give him, and how he's playing too. One of the things that JR, and it's hard for the player, and it's hard for is he wants to be here, but we want his mind to be where his feet are, which are in Springfield right now. And so he just has to keep playing good hockey there. If he's waiting for the phone to ring and plays poorly hockey, the reality, it won't ring. It's not So it's going to be based on a need, it's going to be based on how we're playing, and it's going to be based on if he can help us. Now, if we fall out of it and he's playing very good, then I expect us to use all 4 recalls.
One more big picture one, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Doug, for people who just see the headline tonight, Blues stood pat at the deadline, just how do you explain it to people who maybe wanted you to bring some people in or move some people out if you weren't going to bring some people in? I mean, is this just a tough day because people need to realize that it's part of the retool and you may benefit from standing pat later on, but it's tough to, understand at the time?
Yeah, I guess it's hypothetical as you're asking about 23 players. So I'm not really sure how to answer it. Like I think I tried to answer it and I didn't do a good job, Jay, earlier. Like we had 2 unrestricted free agents, and those are the most of the guys that moved today. There was a couple of hockey trades. There was a massive hockey trade between Ottawa and Buffalo. There was a hockey trade between Boston and Colorado for Coyle and Middlestat. We were involved to talk about some of those things, but it's not like we had the unrestricted free agents. I think the people on this call that know the game, if we had to move our unrestricted free agents, I don't think you'd be guys expecting 3 first-rounders and a second. So you have to live in reality.
Doug, just one more big picture one. What does success look like for this team the rest of the season to you?
Excuse me, it's how we play. If we continue to play the way we're playing now, and firm and hard and determined and for each other, the wins and losses, I think we'll win more than we lose, whether it'll be enough to get in the playoffs, is success. If we start to lose games and then get individualistic, cheating the game, cheating for offense, not playing for the guy, it's not quite worthy. It's not quite, you're up by a goal. It's not quite worth blocking a shot because we're not in the playoff hunt. Those things will tell a tale about who wants to be here and who doesn't want to be here. So the success is going to will be determined by the things that aren't just on the scoreboard, but on how we conduct ourselves.